this the rose between two thorns situation? Are those special ones that have cocaine in them? You told me about.
We will be starting in just a couple of minutes.
The police will be here by then. Memories of meeting both of you at my first photo. And said, yeah, judging with you. Yeah, and you were, it's fine, it's great. And we spoke together. We didn't speak together. We were speaking. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2022. That sounds right. Yeah. 24. So, yeah, 2022. Told me to do it.
Alrighty then, 2:30. Let's get this show on the road. We are back with the 2025 New Zealand Amateur Photography Awards. A special thanks goes out to Photo Warehouse, who are our sponsor. And they have been supporting New Zealand photographers since 1987. They're operated by real people who know and love cameras. 7 stores nationwide, plus an extensive range of new and used products online at photowarehouse.co.nz. Now, tonight at 5 p.m, our category winners will be announced, along with 3 finalists for the NZ Amateur Photographer of the Year. So make sure you stick around to watch that. If you're in Christchurch, come down and have a look at the exhibition. I've just been out there and there's some amazing photography out there. So you really need to make the effort and come down. And then tomorrow from 5 o'clock, there is an auction, and any prints that are out in the exhibition hall and are going for auction have a little I'm up for auction. You can get some amazing artwork, and I know this because I got 2 last year. So make sure you join us tomorrow from 5 o'clock and get yourself some really cool stuff. So we are now doing photojournalism, and I'll just read the category description for you. The photojournalism category is intended for images that use the medium of photography to tell an authentic visual representation of a story, whether it be political, sports, birth, travel, event, street, personality, or documentary photography. That gives you an insight to the contemporary issues and news. Images should be thought-provoking and represent real life, people, places, and other non-fiction stories. Only basic post-production adjustments are accepted in this category, such as tonal control, black and white conversion, sharpening, and cropping. The final image must remain authentic representation of what was captured on the sensor. Post-production adjustments must not hide or introduce key elements into the image. So what we're going to do now is we have 25 amazing images to check out. And we have the score on some of them, but once we get to the top 10, those images are in random order. We have no idea what the score is or what they got placed. So exciting times. So for now, we're going to get our judges to introduce themselves. And should we start with the rose between two? No, the thorn between 2 roses. Go ahead, Chris.
All right, I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Anderson. I'm a performing arts photographer from Brisbane in Australia. So I photograph actors and headshots and dancers and branding for theatre companies and stuff like that. And it is super fun. I am the current SWPP in London Photojournalism Photographer of the Year, which sounds really neat. and makes it feel like I should be here doing this. So that's cool. And this is my 4th time at the Iris Awards and NZIPP Photo Show, and it is excellent. If you're at home listening and you're going, if you got nothing to do for the next 2 days, you must come down. Or next 3 days? Some days. Anyway,
Some days.
it's super worth it, so come on down.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Janine Fletcher and I am a landscape and fine art photographer from the mighty Ranfurly in the Maniatoto, population 700, but we punch well above our weight down there. And I have my own gallery where I print and frame all my own work. I'm a Grand Master of the NZIPP, and whilst my jam is normally landscape photography, I am an accredited portrait and commercial photographer, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the beautiful images today.
Hi, I'm Emma Steele. I'm from Canterbury, so just out of town in Rolleston, and I have a portrait little studio at home there. I enjoy making creative portraits, but I've been entering the Iris Awards for a few years now and been a finalist in the illustrative, animal and portrait open categories. I have my NZIPP Masters 2 bars and current Asia Pacific portrait category winner. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what some of these images come up.
And with that, we'll get ready to go. Here's your first image, team.
Okay, I'll go because this feels theater to me. Theater photography it's all about bringing what the audience can see and sharing that past the show. And I think this has done a good job with that. So first up, excellent motion. There's great height here, and you've picked the exact right time to capture this person in midair, so love that. Bonus that while they're in this position, their face is making that, like they're looking up where they should look, and they're emoting, which is what's nice about working with performers. They're usually really on the ball with stuff like that, and so that emoting is really great. I think there's a tricky thing here. The bottom of the curtain is perhaps not as pleasant as the rest of the background, and you want to show it because it shows how high she's jumping, but there's a tension because it isn't quite as clean. So I think it's a tough choice that you're in, and it's probably you've made the right choice by leaving the floor in and leaving that line down there to ground us on the bottom.
And I forgot to say, this image got 24th equal and was highly commended, so congratulations. This image was 24th equal and was also highly commended.
Look, well done to the photographer for getting into the top 25 for this competition. That's really well done. So this is just such a warts and all landscape, and every piece is adding to that sort of feeling of decay, and telling the story of a landscape that has been abandoned, but tagged in a really artful way, and so we can enjoy that and appreciate that. I think to improve, when we're shooting structures and architectural bits and pieces, it is quite important to make sure verticals are vertical, and even if you are editing your photos, putting a grid across can give you a really good read on where that's happening. And I think just I kind of feel the photographer's pain because I think there might be something to the left that may be a distracting element that they're trying not to reveal, but things are getting very tight on that left-hand side, and that gutter on the left-hand corner it really does draw your eye, but sometimes a better shooting angle can be had just by walking around quite a lot. So yeah, keep going with this sort of work though, it's really striking.
This image got 23rd and was highly commended.
Congratulations, photographer. Gosh, this really is the action shot, isn't it? the expression on the cowboy's face is, you can feel everything. He knows he's off. I don't know if he's made is it 50, what is the second mark? I'm not sure how many seconds they have to stay on, but you can feel he's going to actually feel the pain when he lands. I feel the pain for him. Improvement-wise, I'm just wondering if you need a little bit more space at the top where his hand is, maybe at the bottom where the hoof is, just to give us a little bit more breathing room. But in saying that, the crop does give you that tension, being that tight. But well done for the capture.
Maybe experiment with just a little contrast. Yeah.
This image was 22nd and it received a silver award. Congratulations.
It's such a situation, I sort of want to know and don't want to know why the photographer was here for this, and I hope it isn't something that's really personal to them. So capturing this hero doing this work, and next to them the devastation of someone's, presumably a house or something like that going down. It's an important moment to capture and a heartbreaking one. I think if you wanted to elevate this, I feel like a lot of extra contrast is in the sky where it might need to be. So those clouds feel they've got some really light and some really heavy sections, and because they're quite contrasty, it draws our eye up, which sounds strange because you'd think the fire is the only thing that would contain us, but because it sort of adds another element there. I do kind of wonder if even cropping this a little bit more like a pano would have drawn us into the fire more. And I super wonder if you could see exactly where that water was landing, if that would be more impactful as well. Like the water looks like it's traveling out of the left of the frame, and maybe it's hitting that section of structure that's right there, but I feel like it's landing outside of it. And I know you've got to make a choice about what lens you've got, and maybe that's not something that was possible, but that might help to elevate this.
This image is 18th equal and it received a silver award.
Congratulations to the photographer for taking us to a different place with sports photography, and the closeness of this is quite compelling and quite different. But it's also pretty obvious what this person is doing. But we're actually getting a real message about the competitive nature, perhaps. I feel definitely like this person would be in a race because they're checking out the competition, and the eyes definitely have it there. I think I don't know whether it's a bit of blur from motion there, whether or not it's slightly more appropriate shutter speed would have been good. I am really enjoying all the droplets flying around. That gives it a really dynamic feel, and perhaps a faster shutter speed still may have helped there. Good contrast here too, probably just right on the edge of enough. So yeah, yep. But well done.
I kind of feel like the shutter speed is not the thing that's throwing it out of focus. I think that's focal length, because some of those drops are really, even the ones that are flying through the air are pretty sharp.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't mind that some of them are blurry, but puts them in the foreground, and that helps us to center on the subject.
Yeah.
Something I would have loved to have seen done a little bit differently is I feel like those eyes have been accentuated. And maybe they haven't been, but they're falling into shadow naturally, and they feel quite bright. And maybe they haven't been toned up, but if they have, that might be something to relax a little bit.
Thank you so much. This image was 18th equal and also received a silver award. Congratulations.
Gosh, well done, photographer. Gosh, this really is the yin and the yang, isn't it? With the beautiful natural bird and then all this devastation of rubbish in this waterways. Yeah, there's so much to look at on the image. I'm still looking around it. I guess it's really highlighting, I'm not sure where this is, but obviously plastics, and really brings to attention the pollution that we're doing, contrasted with this white bird, which is probably it's where it has to live and put up with this. So yeah, it's quite an emotive image. It's quite confronting as far as where to go on this. I'm not sure I've got. Has anyone else got
I was contemplating the idea that perhaps a few steps to the right by the photographer may have just isolated the bird against that wall and not lost the impact of the rubbish. But I feel like these, I think Chris just said it a minute ago, but there are some things that are really important to capture.
Yeah, and they've done that. Yeah, well done.
That bird is looking out towards the left, though, and kind of almost like going, oh man, what are these humans doing? I want to see more on the left, as I presume this rubbish probably continues. Right. So maybe that might have been either waiting for that or have the bird turn its head around to look at the right, so that where the bird is looking is where what we can see. That might have made that a little bit stronger.
Thank you very much. This image was also 18th equal and got a silver award.
Looks like a really hard sport. I'm figuring it's underwater hockey.
It's not air hockey, it's underwater hockey.
Underwater hockey.
Yeah, okay. This looks hard and fun, like if you were remotely physically fit. So excellent.
Yeah. I mean, from a communication point of view, the photographer's done really well to make it look really exhausting and like it's brutal down there. Yeah, I think underwater hockey can be quite brutal. I feel like, and I know that we're in a pool, but it's got a definite, a very blue cast on it, which I understand is the nature of being underwater, but perhaps just a touch, lose that, just dial that back just a wee bit.
Well done though for capturing this. I'm thinking they're possibly in the water unless there's a mirror screen there.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
This image was 18th equal and also got a silver award. If you're wondering why the silence is when I announce the photo, the judges are just taking your image in and looking at it and just soaking it in and then making a few notes before they talk.
There's a really, really good chaos in this image. Like it's a good use of kind of that long exposure, and you know the circumstances were right. You have that person standing on the corner. You're probably going, please don't move, and they didn't move, which is great. While that train came through or the tram came through. So I think that's nicely chosen, and I really appreciate the way that the color tones move from cool at the top left, and they go through that hot section. Initially, the kind of the redness, I found that a little bothersome, and the more I'm sitting with it, the more I quite like it, just because of the way the color transitions through the image. I think if we're looking at how to improve it, it's tricky. Is there much detail in the shadow sections at the bottom right, or is that kind of gone? Okay, so that might be. We're looking at this at a television that's not super amazing, so we got to ask about shadow detail. That might be a thing. Like those bushes frame the image really nicely. Maybe cropping in just a touch so there's a little bit less of the trees on the right, and even bringing this closer to a square crop might have made this stronger.
Just a wee point, and I know Chris was saying it's good the lady didn't move, so that's possibly why this was captured then, as well as obviously the train motion. But it almost looks like there's a pipe or a pole that's sort of landing on top of her head, and I just wondered if it was taken a couple of steps later, although they might have missed the train. So there's obviously a reason for this, but if you have the choice, try and get something where the head or your the person doesn't have anything going through their body line.
So if you're wondering, all your images were judged on calibrated computer screens. What the judges are currently looking at is an oversized TV, which is about one stop or so darker than the calibrated computer that I currently have. So that's where the discrepancy is, and so that's why sometimes they ask if the shadow detail is actually there, because the TV screen is slightly darker than what we have here. All right. This image was 17th and it was awarded a silver. Congratulations. And there is a tiny bit of detail in that black, not right in the corner, but on the rocks.
I guess I'm getting a real sense of a place where watching fishing boats come in on a rough day like this is actually quite the event to go and have a look. And so the photographers done really well to communicate the thought that it is worth going and having a look, rather than just photographing the fishing boat coming over the bar or whatever. And so we've talked about the dark. It is very dark, but it does highlight the weather and the fishing boat and the rough seas. Yeah. Any thoughts, guys?
It's interesting because there's two images in here, right? There's the,
Yep.
the silhouetted stuff kind of in the bottom right half, and then the ship in the top left half. And so that I find that quite interesting, that it's kind of bisected it diagonally, which is neat. I think perhaps there's been a little bit of darkening off of the ocean, because you can see I think they could be halos around the rocks, especially at the horizon line, but it could just be that's the white wake from the boat as well. I'm not sure, so probably that's not worth raising.
Yep.
Maybe the thing that is concerning me the most is, and again, on the television that we're looking at, which is probably not the best in the world, the color tones along the top of the image feel like they're kind of breaking up a little bit. And so rather than saying that's what's happening with this image, I'd say if you have a graduated sky like that, just be really, really cautious that you're working in, while you're working in 16-bit, and then you make your way down to 8 at the end so that you don't have any banding or anything in a sky like that, because that's one area that can potentially do you a disservice. I'm not saying this image is like that, I just know I can't quite see it in its full fidelity.
Awesome, thank you. This image is 15th and received a silver award. Congratulations.
Well done, photographer, for seeing this opportunity here. I mean, it's a lovely little arc she's under, and I love the fact that it's two women there doing hard work. The men are obviously doing the shearing, but it's nice to see, and it almost gives an angel effect on the wool that's come off. It's really clever. I'm just looking around to see there's a little bit of highlight up on that right-hand side that catches your eye a bit, and maybe through the skylight at the top that could just be toned down a bit. Or whether, yeah, we need that, don't we, to get the top of the wool. But really clever arc over the woman. That's well done.
I quite like that her face is not contorted; it's calm. Like
Yeah,
this is number 67 of these that she's done today, and it's no biggie. And I really like that. While this beautiful shape is unfolding in front of us, tucked behind is the shearing, which is not quite as elegant, maybe. So that's well seen.
I like the sheep's lips. That's as the guy's getting around the back to shear there.
I mean, this is like sports photography. You get the opportunity to practice, and obviously the photographer's done very well with getting understanding what is going to happen, so they can anticipate and look for that perfect moment when she is framed under the fleece. So well done.
This image is 15th equal and received a silver award.
Oh, this is really strong. Like
Yeah,
the
emotional.
it's so emotional. It's there. I know there are people in the background, and I know that they're having, there's some tension there too. But it's all about that masked face and what I'm reading as the dad and the child. And this dad is the little narrative in my head is the dad is fighting for something, and he's fighting to make sure that the world for his kid is better than it is now. So you can read a lot into it with the masked figure on the left. We don't really know where this is, so we have to invent a lot of context and potential. But the way that the figure on the left is so much taller and is looking down and is dark, and is physically dominating this man who is not cowed by this at all. And I kind of love that the kid's kind of just like, like not, doesn't appear to be overly stressed about it because dad's here and dad's taking care of things.
Yeah, and to add to that, the couple behind the main guy on the right, it looked like they're arguing too. Or, there just seems to be a lot of confrontation, and you can see all the faces other than the mask. It's definitely quite confronting when it came up. It's the dark, possibly evil on the left versus the good on the right. Yeah, well captured.
I quite like that the word real seems to be highlighted too. I know it's just coincidence, but it's lovely.
This image was 14th and it was awarded a silver award. Congratulations.
Congratulations to the photographer on a silver award and for being brave, finding this place and documenting it. I mean, it's this home, and you can tell by the pressed ceilings and the lead-light windows and that sort of thing would have been pride and joy as a farmhouse, and now it's got a dead sheep in it. It's, time moves on, and there's definitely a sense of time moving on. So the light coming in is quite gorgeous, and probably helped along by some of the windows being pretty dirty. But the crop does. I'm enjoying the vertical crop to include that ceiling and the stuff that's on the ground, but it does feel pretty tight left and right. Just to give our dead sheep a little breathing space. But look, a really well captured and thoughtful image that not a lot of people would think about capturing. So yeah, well done.
I kind of wonder, because it's so graphic, because those elements are there, I feel like if there was the potential for the photographer to take one step to the right, then it would have evened out those diagonals and it would have been even more graphic. Now, again, we're not there, so we can't see what does that now include in the frame and how does that change the elements. So, maybe that option wasn't there for us.
Yeah, it's a bedroom, so it might be quite small.
Which is why I think we can see more on the left, right? Like maybe there's no choice. That's the end of the room, and yep.
Thank you so much. This image was 12th equal and it was awarded a silver award.
Well done, photographer. It took me a moment to see the bucket, but obviously in this country they have different health and safety regulations, and I love that. I love that you've captured that. All the detail and the roofing and the different design is beautiful. To things to look at. The roof line is quite dominating at the bottom. That's sort of, I don't know how you could change that. In the sky, I don't know if up in the sky if there's detail in the sky.
Not a lot of detail on the left.
Yeah, just watch the highlights in the sky. But yeah, what if anyone else got anything to add?
I would maybe crop in a little tiny bit, like crop in a little from the left and the right, because that is giving us context, but because there's so much repeated information, probably extra context we don't need. And I'd perhaps think about cropping in a little from the bottom, because that might help to minimize the kind of black, but you want a little bit of that because you need to show they're on top, they're standing on something. The bucket's that's just genius though. Like, I don't know if whoever took this knew that was about to happen or just was super on it, but that's really well done.
But which way is it coming, up or down?
I'm going to say it's coming down. The guy in the bottom's trying to catch it. And I don't know if it's workplace health and safety laws. I think they're just guys.
Yeah, we won't. Luckily, they don't live here. And this is the next image that was also 12 equal, and it was a silver award.
Well done, photographer. I love the silhouetting of the lassos. And the eye on the horse closest to us. I mean, gosh, it looks fearful. I'm sure it's doing its job, but yeah, you can really feel the tension and the fact that these guys haven't got helmets on and it's pretty casual, but the horse has got horse boots on, you know, protecting its legs. Don't worry about the rider's hat. That's quite a laugh. Possibly, if you could come back a little just to get that the horse at the front's hind leg hoof in, that would be nice, and maybe just a little bit of the reactions from the people around the side. Yeah. Well done, though.
I've watched quite a bit of roping in my time in the States, and it's really interesting to watch. This, yeah, ouch. This image placed 11th and was awarded a silver award.
Good to see the helmet as well.
So look, this image has done its job because it came up and we went, ooh. And so it's given us a very clear communication, but the extra threat from the two hooves at the top there is just a really unique shooting angle. And I applaud the photographer for that, and also just you can feel the impact with all the material flying up. It would have been really lovely to see what they'd actually landed on, but that may not have been possible due to the speed required to do this. Other than that, I don't have a great deal to add to that, but look, decisive moment all over it.
Well done, photographer. I love the fact that the bull's hoof is right hoof. It's so in focus and so detailed. You can really feel what that would feel like to land on you. And the fact that this guy's put his hands up like he knows what's happening next. And then you can get a glimpse of, forgotten what they call them, they call them clowns, the guys that try to distract the bull. You see his hand out there, so he knows he's got a job to do. So we're definitely feeling and seeing and knowing what's happening. So well done, photographer.
Whoa, now we get to the top 10. We're excited about this. So don't forget, 5 o'clock tonight, the category winners will be announced along with the 3 finalists for New Zealand Amateur Photographer of the Year. So make sure you come back for that or stick around and watch the next 2 after this. But for now, we're going to go through the top 10 of photojournalism. And we also want to thank Photo Warehouse for sponsoring the 2025 New Zealand Amateur Photography Awards. Here we go.
I really like in this image that as well as capturing the right moment, you know, the ball where it is, the people where they are, like the players where they are, it's captured the people watching from the sidelines. So, you know, whatever lens we're using is compressed it to the point where you can see school friends, mums, brothers watching. Maybe some of them are bored, maybe some of them are concerned, but I like that this framing has brought both of those in together. I think that's really effective and really good. It's perhaps to improve it, it does feel quite busy, like there's a lot of information, and perhaps that's unavoidable. Like those trees at the back with the dappled light coming through provide quite a challenging background to separate all this. So that's a tricky thing. there's only so low, like if you're shooting with this long of a lens, it doesn't really matter what height you're shooting at, you're going to get that stuff. So that's tricky. Good choices have been made about framing though.
I think actually I'm also enjoying this sort of triangular shape that's made by the three players that are jumping. And that was a fortunate moment in time.
I'm just wondering if it's our screen, but there's a few highlights in there on the other guy that's made the jump but hasn't quite got high enough to do any good on his shorts. So maybe just have a wee look at that. And the hair on one of the guys that's helping the main guy do his lift is quite bright. But I'm enjoying the reaction. There's two boys in the background, particularly one far right who's really into it. You can feel him going, oh, you know. So, yeah, well done.
I can already see the next one. Here it comes.
Oh. That's going to hurt.
You just wonder how quickly he can crawl when you see this. The bull possibly is quicker.
I think it's not just that decisive moment, but there's actually some really interesting things happening in the background here too. And the bull that's in the pen number 6, he's ready to rock.
Yeah.
And there's a guy looks like he's getting ready to jump over the fence, and there's, I think it's those little nuggets that actually really add to this image, and on top of the clearly amazing capture that's happening there. So
Tell you what else is nice is the flick of the tail. They've managed to keep that in have that in the frame, and then you've got the flick of the clowns, which sort of mirrors that sort of shape, which is really nice, and it takes you on that triangle through the frame. And the guy's expression that with the orange Husqvarna suspenders, his face says it all.
yeah.
Great moment, excellent crop.
Yeah, well done.
Thought you might like that one. And here we go for our next image from our top 10.
Excellent use of a panning shot. You know, like we've got it's interesting because on the water, it means the details are going to be quite light anyway. So by locking in on that boat and having the background and the foreground go out of focus, lovely. Like it's just a good application of that. I think perhaps some things to watch. There's water spraying out of the side of the boat that almost looks like a highlight, and it's not one, but it becomes a little distracting. I'm not sure what control you have over that. So one of the things is it's hard to get control of this is the person in there, like their face is really hidden by the helmet, and if there was another shot where they're turning their head and you can see more, that might be more powerful. Like there's a lot of constraints about the situation that you're in and what you're photographing. I think it's a really effective use of that panning technique, though.
I think along with the panning technique, those complementary colours are just fantastic and really, really highlight the bold move. So yeah.
Well done for making the top 10. And here comes the next image.
Gosh, that's gritty. And when you put a triptych together, everything needs to be there for a reason. Every image has to have an important part of the story to tell, and I think that's been done well here. Like, if you read it from left to right, start on the one on the left, you think you know what's going on, but you don't know for sure. The second one finishes the story, and the third one, which I assume is a crematorium, is that's the final step, right? And that helmet's going in along with the coffin. From what you can tell from the one in the middle, this is a dude full of personality. So there's a lot of I'm enjoying the transition and a lot of information that's being given to us. I think a thing to work on is it is really gritty. Like we've kind of pushed that clarity and the textures almost to the max, and it means that, like, let's look at that middle one for a minute. There's the picture of the guy, and then there's around that there's a whole bunch of detail, and I can't even quite make it out. Is it the rollers? Okay, cool. But it's quite it's quite noisy, not like sensor noise, but it's just there's a lot of information there, and you add that to the like the pattern of the wood and stuff like that. It's the license plate that becomes really really clear. So I think there's some excellent choices that have been made. Perhaps pulling back that texture just a little bit to allow that to have a more natural contrast would make this land a little bit stronger.
One thing I did observe is there is sort of like a downwards progression from left to right. So you've got the boot of the hearse, the coffin, and then the coffin. And I thought visually that really adds to that story. But yes, every detail left in or taken out is crucial in this scenario.
Thank you, judges.
Another great capture at the rodeo. The crop is really effective. It's centered. Gosh, you're really feeling him hold on there. You wonder how, when there's not much contact with the horse. I think you've done a great job, and even the guy behind is doing his job. The horse looks, he's doing his job. He looks a little in pain with the jaw there. As far as taking it further, I just wonder if there'd be another. There's not much light on the guy's face. So that might be impossible given his peak. But getting to his face is you don't get there very quickly. You look around the image before you get there. But really enjoying it.
I do ponder whether this image may do quite well in monochrome, because it would then get down to the nitty-gritty of the moment and perhaps give it a little more punch.
In saying that, I'm quite enjoying the colour of the hills and the sand arena that he's in. So that kind of that's nice.
Thanks very much, team. And here comes the next one.
This is delightful. Like there's Emma said, "Oh gosh," when it came around, because like it's overwhelming, it's crazy, and it's almost like an Escher thing, right? Where there's all these lines. It's quite disorienting, and then the bottom right-hand corner sheep just popping up, going, "Hey," looking at us is amazing. So I don't know if that's why you chose this particular. I'm assuming you probably spent some time here capturing a few shots, and good. I can see why it's really good. If that's why you chose this one, good choice, because that little head popping up in the bottom right-hand corner. And we kind of generally we mostly read images from left to right, top to bottom, so that's sort of where you might finish. And that's an excellent full stop at the end of the sentence.
I just went, oh, woe betide the person that opens the wrong gate. It's really captured the utter confusion but these guys will absolutely know what's going on, but to us innocent bystanders, it's pretty overwhelming. But and photographers definitely picked up that sense. And I really do enjoy this sort of like juxtaposition of the fences and gates with the white sheep.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking too, and the winding down of it, you feel, and then the funneling through the middle and then out. It's really beautifully captured, and I even enjoy the sheep in the middle. They're kind of raising their heads as like what's going to happen next.
Yeah, the photographer's chosen a very good
Yeah,
angle,
they've
haven't they?
done really well. And the guy's expression, he's yelling. If anything, his hand's a bit soft. He's obviously moved a bit quick. Goodness knows if they're culling them or drenching them or whatever. It's a big job, but really effective image. Well done.
So it starts as chaos and order emerges from it
Yeah.
after you spend some more time with it, which is lovely.
Yeah, he's hoping.
All right.
Oh, no. Well done, photographer, for catching the crux of the motion. I mean, I imagine there's impact here. There's another horn somewhere we can't see, and it's possibly got this poor chap. There's a possibly just at the back of the ball is a little bit soft. Obviously, the movement's quick, so maybe a faster shutter speed might have kept that nice and sharp, if that's what you want to show. The guy's expressions above the yelling is perfect. The poor chap on the ground, his face is on our screen is quite red. I'm just wondering if some of that saturation could be toned down a tad. But well done for capturing the impact moment.
I quite like the guy at the back on the far left who's like just
Yeah,
dangling
and
his head
in his
around, and his shadow is
Yeah.
amazing. I do wonder if the focus is where it should be. Like it looks like the sign that's just behind what's going on seems to be pretty sharp. I can't tell if that's just the motion in the foot. Like his glove looks sharp too, so I could be wrong.
And we're going on to the next one.
I love this when it comes up. It's from us in New Zealand where you wouldn't get away with anything near that, and the fact that they've overloaded this vehicle probably 6 times the amount it's supposed to carry, and they're just trundling along, and the lady on the, I'm assuming a lady on the right with the pink, she looks kind of bored. It's just an everyday thing, and then you look at the front of this vehicle and I don't even know what's on it, but it's a lot of detail. And then you've got these guys behind on their moped, no helmets, just you're not even looking where they're going. It gives a real different take in the culture that we're not so familiar with. If anything, the guy with the blue turban, it would have been nice if we could see his whole face without I'm imagining that's the exhaust of some sort. But really enjoying the story of it.
I love that. It's just a daily thing, you know. It's just a slice of life in the ordinary. Yeah.
I'm loving all these amazing images that are coming in front of us today.
So I really hope this guy got his feet free of the stirrups. I think the photographer's done very well to capture the where he's got contact with the horse and contact with the calf, and he's probably about to have contact with the ground, and given us, we can see that the audience is watching, but the main focus is absolutely on the rider and the horse there. And also they've given the horse a bit of space to run into on the right-hand side and a bit of foreground to go forward with. They were a bit lucky there was sort of a white thing behind him. But yeah, look, really, really great capture.
What I find really interesting with this sport is like the horse has got boots on and overreach boots. It's sort of protected, and this guy's got no protection that I can see, and he's got this shirt which almost looks like it was ironed before he came out, and in any second he's going to be covered in dirt, and his face is brilliant. Yeah, well done. We can't see the expressions on the audience's faces like we had in the other, which was quite delightful, but it's enough of what's going on in front to be brilliant, so well done.
And here's the next one.
let someone else talk to this, but just quickly, what's caught my eye is the guy's haircut versus obviously sheep shearing and his haircut. There's sort of a parody there with, and his face is brilliant.
I'm actually really enjoying the crop on this, and I think it's definitely it's sort of mirroring the shape of what's happening, which is great. And this guy is giving this A1 effort, and I don't know whether he does it all the time like the Rouseys in the other shots. So, yeah, but. Definitely the crop, which I think draws attention to the other activity that's happening in the back of the frame. I'm always wondering whether this may be some sort of competition, but because there's a couple of well-dressed people in the background. But yeah, and the light on the fleece is great.
All right, thank you very much, team, because that is the end of the category. So congratulations to those top 25. And remember, from 5 o'clock tonight is when we're going to announce the category winners and the 3 finalists for New Zealand Amateur Photographer of the Year. So we will see you then. And at 2:30 sharp, at 3:45 sharp, we will be jumping into portraits. So we will see you then.